This is ABS, Heartbeat of the East.
All right, it's still good morning, Anambra. You're welcome to the show. We have the honor to be hosting this morning the State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Anambra State Command, Mr. Adeoye Irelewuyi. He's in the studio this morning to talk to us on safety on the road, Okada and Keke in focus. Good to have you into the studio.
Good morning.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, how has it been? You are in Anambra State doing some great work with your men. Could you let us know how far, so far? How far?
So far, so good. We are trying to cope with the challenges, and so far we can say that we have recorded considerable reduction in road traffic crashes, especially in Anambra State. And there are some other areas that we are focusing our attention on in this last segment of the year. You know, we are in the month of August and we are almost getting to the ember months. Therefore,
where campaign will be very high,
intensified. Therefore, our focus is shifting gradually to certain areas that we believe are very important for our road users to pay attention to, so that we can avoid loss of lives and property while driving on the road.
All right, before we actually look at the Keke and Okada riders and their problems in this, or their challenges in this part of the world, let us know, when we talk about safety on the roads, what are those things that an average road user should be looking out for?
Well, basically, when you talk of safety, you are talking of securing yourself and securing other users of the road. In other words, in summary, it can just be that you want to move from point A to point B without getting involved in a collision and without causing collision to other road users. I mean, that's the simplest way we can define it. And therefore, we need to pay attention to so many things in order to avoid getting into that collision. One, you need to pay attention to your speed. You need to learn how to share the road with other road users safely. You also need to pay attention to yourself and the vehicle that you are using. These are, in a nutshell, things that are very important when it comes to safety on the road.
Okay. I know that there are road signs here and there. I don't know how much we have around here. There was a time it was so visible in Onitsha and environs of road signs. So far, as a road safety chief officer in the state, do you think people know about these signs and are using it as they should?
Well, there are two issues involved there. One is, do people know about the road signs?
That's actually...
well, I believe that for every licensed driver, properly licensed driver or rider on the road, he or she must be conversant with the rules, the traffic signs. He should know, because it is assumed that he will have been tested on some of these signs before being issued the driver's license. Secondly, it is the question of, do people abide or do they obey the road signs? These are issues that we are grappling with to ensure that people do not just ignore the road signs where they are, and where they are not, they will know that, okay, there's supposed to be a road sign here, I'm supposed to do this, either slow down or give way to other road users, and so on. Unfortunately, many of the road signs have been destroyed without replacement. Some of them have been turned into campaign billboards where they paste posters and all that, and advertisement billboards. But we are gradually waging war, war in quote.
Actually why I asked this question,
misuse of the road signs.
as somebody that drives, sometimes you'll be using the roads and maybe somebody by the side will drive something. You yourself will be thinking, do we actually know? For instance, when you are in a roundabout, somebody coming from this side and somebody coming from this side, who should wait before the other person passes? A lot of people, it seems a lot of our people struggle with that, and you begin to wonder whether we actually know whose right of way it is at a particular point in time.
I think the major problem is the issue of impatience.
Okay.
On the part of our road users. When you're at a roundabout, it is very clear, it's very obvious. The rule states that you give way to traffic on your left. In other words, that vehicle that is already negotiating the roundabout has the right of way. You need to, hold on and let him complete that turn before you come in. But because several times we are impatient, and unfortunately, even the person that is
that knows the right,
that doesn't even understand, or maybe he's this is a man that's too impatient for my safety. Let me allow him to go, and then, So many a times we know the right things, but because we are impatient, because we are just trying to, break the rules, we do the wrong thing, and that causes a lot of problems.
Okay, now to the issue at hand, the Keke drivers and Okada riders. By the way, Okada was banned in this state for, so there are some areas Okadas are not permitted to drive. But sometimes you see Okadas on those roads, is the road safety responsible for checkmating that activity where they should run and where they should not use?
Well, the Federal Road Safety Corps is empowered and concerned with enforcing all traffic regulations, whether it's a state traffic regulation or it's a national traffic regulation. We're empowered to enforce all laws regarding that. Be that as it may, we are more concerned with the proper use of the road. For instance, this issue of motorcycles that has just been raised, there is a national directive that has been issued concerning one of the security measures taken, that all motorcycles, whether you're operating in a banned area or you are not operating in a banned area, must be registered, must be properly registered. And this is the campaign drive that is on right now. I want to ensure that in Anambra State, any motorcycle, any Keke that is in use on any of our roads are properly registered. We have commenced the enforcement, and we are ensuring that if you are arrested, we will ensure that you register that vehicle before we release the vehicle, because it's part of the security strategy. We all know the prevalent security situation nationwide right now, and one of the measures that have been put in place to checkmate that those challenges are that there must be no unidentified vehicle or unidentifiable vehicle plying the road. Therefore, every vehicle must be registered. In actual fact, it's in compliance with the provisions of National Road Traffic Regulation 2012, which states that every vehicle that is on use on Nigerian roads must be properly registered. So if you are using a vehicle, either Okada or a motor car or whatever, and it is not registered, you are breaking the law.
Well, is it possible for someone to be using Okada or any road without registering it? Shouldn't that be first thing to be done before using the vehicles?
You'll be surprised the number of vehicles that are on the road without having proper license registration. And we are.
Or maybe they expired. Should that be expiration, or they didn't just register it?
Well, if it expires, it's as good as not having.
Okay.
But some don't even register at all. Presently, one of the negative trends that we have observed, especially in Anambra State now, is that you will observe a vehicle, you will have a number plate in front, you won't have one at the back. And you stop such a vehicle and inquire, what is happening? He will either give you lame excuses, the number plate was lost, and so on and so forth, this, that. Well, fine. If your number plate gets lost, there are procedures stipulated by the law in which you can replace that number plate. So we have commenced the enforcement on that too. And we want to ensure that as far as Anambra State is concerned, no vehicle plies our roads without being properly registered.
Now, on Okada users, for areas where Okadas are still in operation, what are your plans as regards the campaign you're carrying out currently?
Yes. One of the key strategies that we want to focus on is to enlighten and warn our people on the issue of Okadas and Keke Napeps applying the expressway. It's a very dangerous practice. It's illegal, and it is not permitted. It's a risk to both the Okada riders and the Keke rider, as well as other road users. Now, because the major expressway that passes through Anambra State, many of us often forget that it is part of the East-West National Route grid. And because it passes through certain built-up areas, like Onitsha, for instance, and even Oka here, we just assume that it's an urban road, and it's not a national network. A lot of interstate vehicles ply that expressway, and once it is called an expressway, there are certain categories of vehicles that are not permitted to use the expressway. Okada is one of them. Any vehicle below 50cc capacity, engine capacity, is not permitted to be on the expressway. Even the Keke that we see, the Keke Napep, they are not expected to be on that expressway. And we have commenced enforcement on this too. We are seizing this opportunity to warn all our riders, all our Keke riders and motorcycle riders, that please avoid either crossing the expressway or riding along the expressway. It's illegal. It's not permitted by law.
Okay, thank you very much. In case you're just dropping by, it's Good Morning Anambra, and we are looking at safety on the road, Okada and Keke in focus, with the chief FRAC boss in Anambra State, Irelewi, talking to us. We take a short break here. Let's feel the pulse of the masses. We'll be right back. Do join us again.
All the Kekes should be registered, should have a number registered by the union, because the union can identify the number at anywhere if the Keke is registered. Another thing is that they're supposed to have a kind of uniform, so registered as well, because the uniform, whatever they wear, are supposed to have a number. So this is an identification. Wherever you see them, you can easily identify them, either by their uniform or by the number in the Keke. So unregistered Keke, which we know can be used for so many atrocities. So I am on the side that all the Kekes should be registered, but the state government have to do their own job.
And I believe the reason for the registration is for the government and the agencies involved to be able to curtail the problems of security in the country, especially in Anambra State, because before now, most of the criminals are they use the services of this unregistered Keke or shuttle for their operations, which has not been helpful to the state and the citizens at large. So cutting it all will help ensuring there is security in the state.
It's a taboo for them not to be registered, because if they are registered, then the government will be able to monitor the number of motorcycles that are in operation. And again, government as well will begin to get their revenues from there. But the implication of not registering them might result that some of these tricycle drivers and Okada drivers, if they are not registered, so in case anything happens, you don't trace it to anybody. So most of them, as a matter of fact, not all, most of them are criminals. We have heard about cases of armed robbery, attack, and so many things. And it was these very tricycles and Okada riders that they are using to perpetrate all these crimes. So there is need for government to checkmate it through this issue of registration. Then it will be able to get the number. So you get anything happen, it is now traceable. You can know who and who to, because if I register a motorcycle with government and with your association, should in case anything, or even if I forget something, I can go to the office, and that thing, because I knew the particular vehicle I enter or the tricycle I enter Okada, the fear that they should be, God will make them to go to the office and deposit that thing. So on your own, you can go there and pick them up. But if you are not registered at all, anything can happen. You can't trace it to anybody. So there is need for this tricycle and Okada riders to be registered properly.
You see criminals using the tricycle to operate, using it to kidnap people, both the buses. So that's the implication. Nobody is safe now. So then another thing I want to say is that people should be sensitized. There should be education. People will be educated on safety, especially when you talk of this registration of 18. How do you know the number of Keke you enter? So it's very important that it's high time people will be educated that when you enter Keke, try and get the number. Let that number be registered into your brain, so that in case of anything, you can recollect this is the number of the tricycle. Very important. At times, you can forget something too. You can recollect that number of that Keke. Apart from that, you can see that it will be difficult to track some of these criminal elements using tricycle.
Okay, we've had the people speak of what needed to be done for proper security of lives and property in Anambra State. And we thank the FRSC in particular for being here this morning to educate our people so that they don't say, I didn't hear, I didn't know of this. They are about to embark on a campaign so that you listen very well if you're a Keke driver. And we have a phone line on your screen. You can call us to ask any question where you're not clear. The FRSC boss here is ready to clear you very well so that tomorrow, if they are on the road to enforce whatever law they are putting up, you will not say you are not aware. According to the saying, ignorance is never an excuse in law. I hope I got it.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's look at this Okada riders too. What are they expected to do? In the Vox Pop we listened to, some people said registration is important. He gave reasons actually. But there is something a young lady said about wrong number, or maybe you remember, recollect the number of somebody that have carried you. So give us what their expectations are for them.
Yes, before I go into that, let me quickly add a little to what the people have said.
Right.
That the advantages of registering your vehicle, is beneficial to even the owner of the vehicle. Let me state here that in the last 6 months or so in Anambra, we have, through vehicle registration, recovered, a lot of stolen vehicles. Vehicles that are stolen from other states, vehicles that are stolen from Anambra State, at the point of re-registration, they were discovered to have been stolen and they were recovered. So it's a benefit to the owners of those vehicles and motorcycles and keke that if their keke or motorcycle was stolen, it cannot be registered in any other state of the Federation if it is properly registered. Now, to now come to the issue of verifying number plates. Once your vehicle, your keke or your Okada is properly registered, the registration details will be uploaded into the FRSC database. And any vehicle that is being registered in Nigeria must first of all be verified on our database. That is where we confirm whether it has been registered before, who was the previous owner, is there a proper change of ownership, or have they just stolen it and they want to register it? So these are some of the things that we do. Of course, we have an app that we can use to verify, right there on the spot, whether the number plate that is being carried is fake or authentic. If it is not captured in the FRSC national database, of course, we assume that such a number plate is not authentic. And we will advise that that kind of person should go and do a proper registration. So with that app, we can verify the authenticity of the number plate. And of course, we expect that if an Okada man or a Keke man or whoever, a vehicle driver is using the road, he should have with him photocopies of his registration papers. If he does not carry the original, he must have photocopies of the registration papers to prove to us that, yes, that vehicle or that keke or that motorcycle had been properly registered. Also, of course, we assume or we expect that such a person should have his or her driver's license. With him.
Okay. The keke riders now, let's go to them and their issues. I know this Regina Shelley junction here, most times they block the roads that leads into that Opun or something. So you see a lot of vehicles that want to enter there stand on the expressway, humming for them to move out of the way for them to, cross and everything. So what are your plans in checkmating the excesses of these keke riders?
We have had several meetings with the unions, the associations organizing these keke riders. In fact, I've had several meetings with them in my office. We have discussed this particular challenge and some other challenges, and we are working together with them to ensure that they themselves should coordinate their riders and ensure that at least they comply. Now, if you notice that in places like Immigration Junction, for instance, in Oka, you have a single lane of keke that are queuing up, picking passengers, and that's how we want it to be in Regina Charlie and some other points, within the town. So that if there is orderliness in their arrangement, then we'll have less traffic obstruction, and we'll have less possibility of maybe a heavy
accident.
Yes, a heavy truck running into them, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that we are engaging the unions, the associations that are coordinating them to ensure that they enlighten their members and they control their members. So, because by the time we come out and we start the enforcement, nobody will say, road safety, you did not tell us, you did not advise us. We have been telling ourselves.
Okay, quickly, as we wrap up the show, please. When is the enforcement beginning? And of course, I don't know if the keke riders are expected to carry fire extinguishers in their keke.
If their Keke can burn, they should have fire extinguishers. if their Keke can catch fire, anything that can catch fire should have fire extinguishers in their vehicles. And the enforcement had already commenced, especially on the issue of registration of motorcycles and Keke Napep. Proper licensing, proper registration, the enforcement had commenced. This is part of the enforcement process, enlightening members of the public.
All right, thank you so much. We'd like to appreciate you, the State Sector Commander, FISC, Anambra State, Mr. Adeoye Irelewuyi. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And that's just about it on the safety on the road, Okada and Keke in full course. Do sit back. We have more coming on Good Morning, Anambra.